Hey guys, let's do a booktube tag. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm a stationer and a bookseller and most importantly, a reader and yapper about books. Today, let's do the quarter year check-in tag. I don't know what it's actually called. I will link the originator video below and all the questions, but it's basically just checking in the first quarter of the year, where you're up to, and yapping about books. That's what we do here. The first question in the tag is, how many books have you read this year? Now, I understand this is coming out nearly mid-April, but let's date it back to the end of March, which, you know, is that first quarter. So by the end of March, I had read 15 books, which feels like a relief, because last year I really struggled to read books. I don't know about the start of the year, but really in that middle section, I slowed down, couldn't read anything, was doing a lot of rereading. And so this year, hitting 15 already. I mean, I could have been organised and checked where I got to last year. Let me check. Storygraph has this fancy new feature now where you can look at stats for a particular time frame. So why don't we do that? So this time last year, I had read 11 books and 4 of those were rereads at that point. So 15 is on track for my goal of 52 in the year. Always, I try to exceed that, but the minimum is 52, and I usually reach that. And this year it's only been 3 rereads so far. One of those was a buddy read. One of them I reread The Great Gatsby because I got a new edition with a sexy cover, which is over there. Let me get it. These new lightweight hardcover editions by Vintage are just gorgeous. I can't resist. I've got so many of these, and I'm really talking myself out of getting the Jane Austen set because I don't need a third set of Austen. Or do I? So that's where I'm up to. I'm really pleased with only 3 rereads because I'm fully for rereading. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I have the possibilities this year are feeling endless and broad, and I don't need to go back to my friends for comfort. So love that for me. Second question is, have I found a favourite already this year, a favourite read? I don't want to call it this early. Nothing has captured my heart like a favourite would, but there's 2 notable mentions. The first is The Haunted Wood, A History of Childhood Reading by Sam Leith. This does what it says on the tin. It goes from like Aesop's fables that far back through to Philip Pullman and She Who Shall Not Be Named, and examines the impact of children's authors, especially when we get to books written specifically for children, not just read by children. And like all history, like all literature, what is written after is informed by what came before and how the families evolve, and you can see the genetics of a storyline through the years. I will say, if you are not interested in reading about J.K. Rowling, specifically Leith says that the discussion is about the books themselves and the cultural impact of the books, rather than the other things that we don't talk about with J.K. Rowling because she's a terrible person. The books are examined on their own merit. The call number in that one, because it's like biography of literature, is, oh, I can't read that, 808.89282. The second one that was sitting on my shelves for such a long time, I don't know why I sat on it for so long, I'll turn it the right way, is Bettany Hughes, The 7 Wonders of the Ancient World. The call number here is 930.1, which is probably something to do with archaeology. This was actually fantastic. The reason I bought it in the first place, aside from the cover got me, is it was blurbed by Stephen Fry, which I don't know if that is an endorsement, but because I know that Fry knows about the topics, that was an endorsement for me. This examines all the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Only one still stands, the Pyramids of Giza, which is actually the oldest, which is a cool little fact, and looks at where they were situated, the cultural context of where they were built and why they were built, the cultural impact of the wonder itself, and then what has happened to it now, what is on that site now, what did later people have to say about it, that sort of thing. Really readable, really interesting. Like, I am not an ancient historian. It really just bores me. And I found this really fascinating. So if you're interested in an overview of the Seven Wonders, at least, highly recommend. I think I probably gave both those books 4 stars. Did I have a 1-star book though? That's the next question. Yes. Yes, I did. I gave this one 2 stars. This is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. This I picked up because, look how thin that is. One of my book clubs was doing a tiny book challenge, and I don't have tiny books. I don't own tiny books. I don't read tiny books. I'm a snob. And so I went to the bookstore, actually the bookstore where I now work, and I said to them, I need a tiny book. And this was one of the recommended. And because it's basically poetry, you can see how that page is set out. There's not much going on there. So it was fine. I bought that. And I tell you what, there is an audience for Gibran. There is a reason this is a multi-million-dollar selling book. There is a reason that it's been interpreted into so many languages and is considered a classic work of fiction. And I am not the target audience for this book. It feels like, what's his name? Coelho, the Alchemist. If it hits you at a certain point in your life, or The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. If it hits you at a certain point in your life, it will make an impact. But no, it was a mess. So it satisfied the requirements of the Tiny Book Challenge, and I can say that I have read it, and that is all we need to say about that. My most read genre so far, somewhere here, I'm going to put the Storograph stats page. It's classics and history, which will come as no surprise to literally anyone who has spent time here with me. And I'm not sorry, I love it. I am really getting into classics this year. And look, I'm not going to lie, partly it's because of these sexy covers, and partly just because I'm having a good time reading old stuff. And history, of course, that's a given. Next question is a book that surprised you, and this is going to surprise you as well because it is Richard Osman's The Last Devil to Die, which is book 4 in the Thursday Murder Club series. Now, I know the movie is recently come out and I have not watched it, and I probably won't watch it. It doesn't interest me. But this one surprised me because it is book 4 in a series. Book 3, I thought we were flogging a dead horse. How many times can we have people who live in an old folks home solving murders, getting into scrapes, and not having serious consequences of those scrapes? Well, consequences occur, my friend. I'm not going to spoil it more than that, but I will say that Osman really renewed my faith in this series, and so I bought the next one after this to read because I feel like he's reinvigorated the story for me. And after this one, he did stop and start a different series. So, which I tried and I didn't like. I can't even remember what it's called. But I'm feeling reassured that there is more life in the Thursday Murder Club after having read this one. The next question is a book that came out in 2026 that you haven't read yet. Now, I understand that we're going to the end of March, and these 2 books came out in April, but I have them, so I'm going to show them to you. The first one is a proof copy that I picked up, but this is available now. It's The Society of Literary Marauders by Sasha Worsley, and I've not heard of this author, but she has credentials in romance under this pen name, and YA and children's mysteries under pen names, and then she's taking a twist into historical fiction. This one, the blurb is really giving vibes of Pip Williams crossed with Babel by R.F. Kuang. I will read you the blurb. At Oxford University, 1928, 4 young women make a secret pledge. I hereby undertake to read any book kept away from nice young ladies and make up my own mind whether it is good for me or not. They've come from unlikely corners of the British Empire: bricklayer's daughter Annie, wealthy flapper Ridley, refined Parsi aristocrat Dorelia, and disheartened schoolteacher Norma. They call themselves the Society of Literary Marauders, and the price of entry is having stolen a book. It's giving a bit of Dead Poets Society too, isn't it? I think I will not enjoy this, but the blurb did get me, and I will have a flick through it. I think it's probably too far on the light-hearted scale. But then again, I loved Pip Williams, and I wouldn't say that I am the target audience for Pip Williams either. So you never know. I will at least have a go at this one. But this one I'm so excited for. I got it yesterday. This is The Lost Soldiers by Andrei Kurkov, translated from Ukrainian? No, it must be Russian. Translated from Russian by Boris Traliuk. This is the third in a series called the Kiev Mysteries. And I will link my reviews to the other two because I really, really enjoyed these. And honestly, the covers are gorgeous. Love them. So let me read the blurb without spoiling what happened in the first two. Kiev 1919. This is where all the books are set. Fresh from a case that has shattered his belief in the regime he works for, Samson Kolchenko is confronted with a mystery that borders on the impossible. A troop of Red Army soldiers has disappeared without a trace while visiting a bathhouse. Their abandoned boots and uniforms are only proof that they ever existed. Faced with such a bizarre conundrum, Samson must resort to an unorthodox investigation method, stitching his operative severed ear into the... So right at the beginning of the very first book, he has his ear sliced off with a saber. He accidentally gets caught in a riot and his ear gets sliced off. But in a touch of magical realism that doesn't have much impact on the books, he can still hear with his ear and it's not decaying in any way. And so he has put his severed ear into a bathhouse worker's jacket and can eavesdrop on what's happening. The rest is spoilers, but I am so excited for this book. And also, I'm excited that the ear gets its moment in the sun because it was really just a red herring for a long time there. So, tiny bit of magical realism in a mystery series set in the Ukraine, in Kiev, in 1919, where there is the revolution happening. So question 7 is checking in on your goals, which I already did at the start of the video. I am reading more than I did last year, and that is my only goal, is to be reading something at some point. Question 8 is a goal I need to focus more on, and I want to read more nonfiction. And that's always a goal for me because nonfiction takes longer, it's more dense, and there's just so much to read and so much to learn and so much to know, and it can get overwhelming to think about it. So I'm just always thinking about reading more nonfiction and having at least one nonfiction book on the go at any time. Technically I do at the moment, although I was listening to The World Transformed by Peter Frankopan, and it's the most boring. I should just DNF it. And I kind of have, because I stopped listening to it to start Anna Karenina. And now I've paused Anna Karenina to listen to something else for work. And so I don't think I will get back to the Frankopan. It's actually quite tedious. But I need something nonfiction. So I don't know what that will be, but it will come to me and it will sing to my heart and I will have a good time, I'm sure. So currently I'm at 29% of my reading this year has been nonfiction, and I try and make it at least a quarter. So I'm above that goal, but it is something that I need to be working on. Otherwise I will just keep picking up fiction because it's here and it's easier and it's shorter, and that's why I have the nonfiction goal. Finally, the last question is new to me or new booktubers that I would recommend. Now I only have one new to me person, and that is Frankie from Frankie's Shelf. Now I've only watched a few of their videos. I only just found them, and every video that I've watched so far has been in depth with receipts, takedown of books that I was already inclined to dislike. I found them through a recommendation of their video on the Shy Girl scandal. Who wrote Shy Girl? Mia Ballard. So this was self-published last year or the year before, I think, and immediately a scandal because the cover was clearly stolen art or AI art, and the book got picked up by a traditional publishing house. It got published in the UK, I think, and then a lot of stuff started to surface about maybe this book was assisted writing AI or written entirely AI. And Frankie does the most amazing job of examining everything in this book and brings receipts of how it's very likely that AI was involved in the process of this book. We don't want to be doing any defamation or slander here. If you're interested in that sort of vicious takedown of a book, highly recommend this channel. And then of course there's my regular booktube videos. Kelly at Curatorially Yours, Cathy at The Grim Reader, Ben at Ben Reads Good, and Katie at Books and Things. And an honourable mention to someone who is not on YouTube but does write book reviews, and that is my book bestie Luke, who all of those people will be linked below. Here's the sexy stats graphs exported from Storograph. You can see that my highest rated read was Reread Nemesis Games by James S.A. Corey, which is not going to shock anyone. I love The Expanse so much. We can see that aside from classics and history, I've been reading science fiction and literary fiction and short stories, which has shaken me because I don't like short stories. But that's got to be the Gibran and also an Expanse novella. I'm reading a lot digitally this year. That's just how it's going. And the books that I've read this year with their ratings. We will talk about these books more in depth when I film my review videos on them. And that's my quarter year tag. Thanks for hanging out. If you want to participate, tag yourself and do it, and tag me so I can see it. We'll talk next time.